Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Paddocks Club video tutorial. Today we're going to be talking quickly about representation of owners at community scheme meetings. Let's start with looking at some broad categories. You get owners who are individual natural persons. Sometimes you have multiple natural persons. A man and his wife may own a property in undivided shares. Sometimes the property is vested in a company or a closed corporation. Sometimes it'll be in a trust. All these situations are slightly different, and they have to be dealt with by the executives of the community scheme during the course of meetings and in the general governance of the scheme. So let's have a look at very quickly at the governance documentation. For companies and closed corporations, you have governance documents. Companies have a memorandum of incorporation, or many of the older companies will still have as their memorandum of incorporation a set of articles and a memorandum. The closed corporations have a founding statement. Trusts always have a trust deed. These are the documents which you won't normally need to look at in any detail, but you might if you were worried about somebody's right to represent that particular entity. Now, at meetings, people can represent themselves. That's personal attendance. If I'm an owner, I turn up. I'm representing myself. There's no third party involved. I can generally, almost in all community schemes, you will find provision for proxies. That's a situation where a third party, known as the proxy, is appointed in terms of a proxy appointment document, confusingly also normally referred to as the proxy, and authorizes them to turn up at the meeting and represent their interests. And then, of course, you get general representatives. A director of a company, for example, may be given a specific mandate, but he might just generally be authorized, as might anybody under a general power of attorney, to represent the interests of another person. Now, proxies, let's go back to them for a second. They're specific appointments. As to a particular representation, they have a period that they run, which there might be instructions involved in it. Vote this way for that and that way for this. And you might also cater for alternate appointments. You know, if the person I choose isn't available, then automatically the chairperson has my appointment. And you also have the possibility to substitute. So it's possible to say, I want Mr. X, but if Mr. X is not available, Mr. X can substitute Mr. Y in his place. All these things are possible because proxies are no more than general mandates. They are statements of people's authority. In terms of powers of attorney and that sort of thing, it's normally given in very general terms, where proxies are normally much more specific and often just for one particular meeting. The general appointment as a representative is going to be supported by way of a resolution in the company, the closed corporation, or the trust, and if it's not, then there will be some form of permanent document, such as a power of attorney or a permanent standing appointment, which authorizes that person to represent the artificial person that is the actual registered owner of the property. In all cases, you need to see those documents. You need to see the background authorization, whether it's a proxy, as I say, normally short-term, or a long-term power of attorney or letter of authorization, before you can accept that that person represents that owner, that artificial owner. You have to see that documentation. Similarly, if, for example, in a sectional title scheme, a unit is owned by 2 people or 5 people or 20 people, they all have to appoint one person, which might be one of them or might not, to represent them at meetings. Again, you want to see that document. And the question that's often asked, are representatives counted as owners for the purposes of the Sectional Titles Act? Well, if they are the representative of an artificial person that is a registered owner, then yes. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. If you have any questions, let's talk about them in the forum.